Thank you. Good morning. I will make this statement on behalf of the following members of the Security Council that are parties to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court: Albania, Brazil, France, Gabon, Ghana, Ireland, Norway, the United Kingdom, and my own country, Mexico. We thank the ICC Prosecutor, Mr. Karim Khan, for the presentation of the 34th report to the Security Council on the situation in Darfur in accordance with Resolution 1593. We call upon all states to intensify efforts to secure the arrest and surrender to the court of all ICC suspects at large. Moreover, we welcome the visit of the prosecutor to Sudan, which concluded with the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding on 12 August 2021. For the first time, this Memorandum of Understanding has extended the government of Sudan's cooperation with the office to include commitments to cooperate in relation to each of the 4 suspects not currently in ICC custody. We also express our serious concern about the military takeover in Sudan on 25 October 2021. We again call upon all parties to exercise the utmost restraint, refrain from the use of violence, and emphasize the importance of full respect of human rights, including the right to peaceful assembly and freedom of expression. We also are concerned that political instability impacts the security situation in Darfur and call upon Sudan to offer its full support and cooperation with the Office of the Prosecutor. Finally, we encourage all states to fully support the court in carrying out its important mandate of ensuring justice for the victims of the most serious crimes under international law. We confirm our unwavering support for the court as an independent, impartial, and judicial institution of last resort, which anchors the system of justice for serious international crimes that are primarily based on the jurisdiction of national courts. In this regard, we welcome the prosecutor's commitment to the core principle of complementarity. National authorities have the primary responsibility to investigate and prosecute Rome Statute crimes. The ICC only steps in when states are unwilling or unable to carry out national proceedings. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. First, let me express solidarity to the people of Tonga, like the Secretary General also has done. We are, of course, extremely concerned about the situation, and we express our deepest, solidarity, and we hope that they can make a quick assessment of the humanitarian needs, so we can all, join in and help the situation. Today, the Security Council will receive the half-yearly briefing by the International Criminal Court on Sudan. The ICC prosecutor, Karim Khan, will brief the Council on his 34th report on Sudan and Darfur. The prosecutor took up his new job. He came from UNITAD here in New York in The Hague in mid-June, so it will be his first briefing to the Council on Sudan. And after the meeting, there will be a joint stakeout by Council members that are also members of ICC, and the statement will be read out by Mexico. Norway remains a staunch supporter of the ICC, and of course we are extremely concerned about the situation, the challenging situation in Sudan in general. We are concerned about the disproportionate violence used, and we urge all stakeholders to really make use of the facilitation of good offices by UNITAMs, and we hope that there can be a Sudan-led inclusive process and dialogue going forward. This afternoon there will also be a meeting, or there will be close consultations on UNFICYP on Cyprus. SRSG Colin Stewart will give his first briefing to the Council after he took up his new job, and we are looking forward to hopefully see a renewed mandate for UNFICYP later this month during our presidency.
Ambassador, do you plan any meeting on North Korea after the last test, and also maybe a meeting on Yemen after the attacks by UT on Emirati?
Yeah, on the attacks in UAE, we have not fully had information gathered. We have not received a request for a meeting. We just had a meeting on Yemen last week, and it's a monthly thing, so we can also come back to that. On DPRK, we have not received a formal request for another meeting. Of course, as Norway, we remain extremely concerned about the ballistic missiles.
What is Norway's reaction to the attacks in Abu Dhabi, though, coming so close after the Security Council issued a statement on Yemen?
Yeah, and we do that often. We discuss Yemen on a regular basis in the Council, and we just have to follow the situation very closely. Of course, we are extremely concerned about the ongoing situation in Marib, which is fueling, the situation in general. And there needs to be progress on the situation in Yemen. It's a tremendous cost humanitarily to the people of Yemen.
Thank you. Thank you very
much. Madam President, firstly, may I congratulate Norway for its presidency of the Council this month. It is a real honour to have the opportunity in this new year to present the 34th report of the Prosecutor of the ICC in relation to the Darfur situation in Sudan, pursuant to Resolution 1593 that the Council passed, of course, in 2005. Despite the strictures of COVID and the wearing of masks, it is wonderful, even with these constraints, to be here in person. I would like to begin, Madam President, if I may, by recalling what I said when I was meeting with Darfur survivors and victims when I was in Khartoum on the 17th of August last year. I convened a meeting with Darfur civil society. Many individuals have been struggling for almost 2 decades for something that should be simple but seems extremely complex, namely justice, a modicum of accountability that underlines the fact that every life matters. They have struggled and they have shown perseverance in relation to crimes that have unfortunately characterized a generation, at least, of men, women, and children. It was that suffering that led this Council to use its Chapter 7 powers in 2005 and refer the situation to the ICC. I share the frustrations, the impatience, and the hopes of those survivors that singular moment, the first referral by the Council to the International Criminal Court, will reap dividends. Expectations are not unreasonable. It is simply that there should be some justice. The victims, the survivors, the people of Darfur have shown that persistence. But it is important, as I said in my interactions with Sudanese government members, that this referral cannot be a never-ending story. It can't be, we're approaching middle age, 34 reports. We need collectively to do better. My office, of course, but also this council, to make sure the promise and the purpose of the referral is wedded with concrete action. There is sign for hope, and there has been progress, notwithstanding the difficulties that remain. In July of this year, all 31 charges relating to a notorious Janjaweed leader, Ali Kushaib, were confirmed, and a trial has been set down to start on the 5th of April of this year. The charges include war crimes, crimes against humanity, murder, rape, torture, attacks against the civilian population in Wadi Saleh and Mukhjar. That's an important moment. This year, in just 3 months' time, the promise of the Council will start being demonstrated in action by the allegations that the office have preferred being placed before independent and impartial judges. At the same time, outreach is important. And also I am hoping to work with the registry of the court to make sure that there is an organized and effective outreach program so that Sudanese people in Sudan, in Darfur or outside can follow the proceedings, because they have a right to know what happened and they have a right to see the truth. But the Ali Kushaib case is one case. There are, of course, 4 warrants outstanding. The case against former President Omar al-Bashir, the case against the former Minister of Interior, Abdul Rahim Muhammad Hussein, the former Governor of South Kordofan, Ahmad Haroun, and the case against the former GEM rebel commander, Abdullah Banda. In relation to Abdullah Banda, I've recused myself from that case, and that case is being supervised directly by the Deputy Prosecutor. It's important, as I said in relation to my Libya briefing in December, that during my term I wish to prioritize cases that have been referred by the Council. And I started that in the Sudan situation by conducting a review of the evidence to look at the strength of those cases. And I have also ensured additional resources are brought into that case so that we can hopefully be more effective. But the reality is this, that for a variety of reasons over the last 17 years, including the non-cooperation of the government of Sudan by the previous administrations, there were not field investigations in the country. And my predecessor hibernated for a long period this situation so that investigations did not mature. As a result, I realized that the evidence, particularly against Omar al-Bashir and Mr. Hussein, needs strengthening. I'm satisfied with the strength of the evidence regarding Ali Kushaib, but in relation to those 2 cases I've mentioned, we need to make sure we do better. And that requires cooperation from Sudan. It requires assistance from Sudan, and it also requires cooperation, collaboration from members of this Council and member states of the United Nations. I have, realizing that evidential landscape, I have given more resources to the team, put more investigators on the case, also people with Arabic language skills as well, and immediately in August, 2 months after my term commenced, I went to Sudan to speak to the government, realizing the importance of cooperation. That brought tangible results, because for the first time, we concluded a memorandum of understanding, not only in relation to Ali Kushayb, but in relation to all 4 of the cases for whom judges of the ICC have issued warrants. I also appointed a pro bono special advisor to focus exclusively on the Darfur situation so we can move together, get cooperation to a greater extent, and that is Ms. Amal Clooney. And again, this is evidence of my intent, not just to say I'm prioritizing Security Council referrals, but to make sure that the resources that are needed are put into that case. In my trip to Khartoum, in August, we had some constructive meetings. I met with General al-Burhan of the Sovereignty Council, then Prime Minister Hamdok, and Foreign Minister and Ministry of Justice. We also met UNITAM's SRSG Volker Perthes and members of the international community. And in this, I also underlined a new approach. It's not, and this is the beautiful thing about the law, there's many different solutions to one fundamental problem. It's not the location of trial or even the forum of adjudication that is critical. What is critical are independent and impartial investigations, independent and impartial adjudications, and then the rule of law that should triumph so victims can move forward, realizing that everything has been done to try to ensure justice. And I emphasized to the government members that I would be willing to use the full panoply of options that are entwined in the Rome Statute to try to make sure that we could work together and forge better bonds so that this chapter could be closed. The simple issue is this. If we don't accelerate cooperation between the government of Sudan and my office, investigations will keep continuing. If we are to carve out a roadmap for the completion of this situation in the way that I believe the Council want, that the victims want, the way to do it is to accelerate, to inject more cooperation and assistance within the office. And if that is done, I think we can move forward in an effective way. On the 25th of October, of course, the landscape changed, and that has not been particularly helpful. In my meetings in August, not only was the MOU signed, there had been commitments by the government to sign the Rome Statute, there had been commitments to work more closely with my office, and there had been the agreement to help ensure a permanent field presence of the Office of the Prosecutor in Khartoum. But the hiatus from the 25th of October has meant we've lost focal points. We are trying to catch up. We had to, for a couple of months, and in fact until now, we had to suspend active investigations. And so this was a very troublesome, concerning turn of events. The upside is that just before Christmas, my team went to Khartoum again. They spoke to General Burhan, and General Burhan reassured members of my office that the MOU was still valid, that he was looking at cooperating, and he said on more than one occasion to me directly and to the team in December that it was essential to have justice for the victims in Darfur. The challenge now collectively for all of us is to make sure those assurances are translated into concrete, tangible partnerships and accountability. This is a delicate stage, of course, in the transition in Sudan, but I would just underline again the only option for us to move forward and close this situation or find a pathway towards closure is accelerating cooperation. I mentioned this on Friday with the distinguished representative of Sudan, Ambassador El-Bahi, and I also emphasized that these cases are not against Sudan. Sudan is a partner, not an adversary. They are against individuals for whom the evidence discloses their responsibility in relation to crimes within the jurisdiction of the court. We do need safe and secure access to Sudan. We need safe and secure access to the archives. We need to be able to look at where the mass graves are, and we need to be able to go to all parts of Sudan and work independently. This is required not just by the Memorandum of Understanding that was signed in August of last year. It is not only required by Resolution 1593, it is also required by the Juba Peace Agreement. So there's this tripartite tiers of responsibilities, of commitments, that I hope very much that Sudan will honor and work with us more closely. Cooperation from outside of Sudan is also critically important, and we've had fantastic support from the European Union, from countries, the African states, from Norway, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, and the People's Republic of China. Really, this is an area, if we're to close this chapter and allow Sudan to move forward, there can be no passive spectators. We have to help the Sudanese people get what they deserve, which is justice and closure. I hope to go again to Sudan in the next period, in the next few months. I hope around April time. Hopefully, I've been promised that will be facilitated, including going to Darfur, speaking to some of the survivors and victims and displaced people there, and really to try to build an acceleration in the work across the cases that are before the court. I do want, Madam President, with your leave, to speak directly to those victims, to underline during my term that we have an unwavering commitment to ensure that the intention of this Council in the landmark decision of 2005 is honoured and respected, and so that we can have proper, rigorous investigations, so we're able to put before judges what the truth of the matter is. And in my view, and I'll be quite candid about the state of evidence, but I'll also be quite candid about one simple truth. Sudan runs the risk of always being defined by the past conduct, by the events that compelled this Security Council to act in 2005, until and unless we get justice. If we work together, if we work in partnerships, the Office of the Prosecutor, the Government of Sudan, this Council, member states, we can close this chapter. And if we close that chapter, I believe unencumbered and relieved by some of the burdens of the past, by ensuring justice, Sudan will have every possibility to do something which every Council member wants, which is to write a new chapter so it can march forward to a better and more prosperous and safer future. So thank you so much for your time. This is my report.
I thank Prosecutor Khan for his
You can't expect your team to manage work with this.